The exploration of disturbing philosophical ideas has a long history, often challenging our understanding of morality, existence, and the nature of reality itself. One of the earliest figures to grapple with unsettling concepts was Socrates, who frequently questioned the very foundations of knowledge and morality, suggesting that the unexamined life is not worth living, which implies that ignorance can lead to a lack of virtue, causing discomfort among his contemporaries. Fast forward to the Enlightenment, we encounter Immanuel Kant, who proposed that our understanding of the world is shaped by our experiences, leading to the disturbing idea that reality itself is not something we can know directly, but is instead filtered through our senses and perceptions, which leaves us pondering the reliability of our own thoughts. As the 19th century approached, Friedrich Nietzsche introduced the idea of the Übermensch, or the overman, challenging traditional morality and suggesting that individuals must create their own values in a world devoid of inherent meaning, which raises unsettling questions about the nature of good and evil. This existential crisis continued with Jean-Paul Sartre, who argued that existence precedes essence, meaning that humans are thrown into a world without a predetermined purpose, leading to feelings of alienation and despair, as one realizes that they are entirely responsible for creating their own meaning in life. In the 20th century, philosophers like Martin Heidegger explored the concept of being toward death, suggesting that awareness of our mortality fundamentally shapes our existence, which can be a deeply disturbing realization as it forces us to confront the inevitability of our own end. Meanwhile, Simone de Beauvoir examined existentialism through the lens of feminism, highlighting the societal structures that oppress women, which raises unsettling questions about freedom, choice, and the nature of oppression. This conversation continued with Michel Foucault, who challenged the concepts of power and knowledge, suggesting that what we consider truth is often influenced by societal norms and institutions, leading us to question the validity of our beliefs and the structures that uphold them, thus creating a sense of unease about the very foundations of our understanding. The 21st century has seen the rise of postmodern thinkers like Judith Butler, who argue that gender is a performance rather than a fixed trait, which not only disrupts traditional notions of identity, but also compels us to reconsider how we define ourselves, leading to a more fluid understanding of reality that many find unsettling. Moreover, the implications of artificial intelligence and technology, as discussed by philosophers, the will to live, often described as a fundamental driving force in human beings, refers to the innate desire for self-preservation and the instinctual push to pursue life, even in the face of adversity and suffering. This concept, which has been explored in various philosophical, psychological, and medical contexts, suggests that the will to live is not just about surviving, but also about thriving, finding meaning and seeking fulfillment despite life's challenges. Many psychologists argue that this will is closely linked to our ability to cope with pain and suffering, as it propels individuals to overcome obstacles and seek solutions to their problems. For instance, people who experience chronic illness often exhibit a strong will to live, which can manifest in their determination to seek treatment, maintain relationships, and pursue personal goals despite the difficulties they face. This connection between the will to live and human suffering is particularly evident in existential psychology, which posits that suffering is an unavoidable part of the human experience, but it can also lead to growth and self-discovery. In this light, the will to live can be seen as a powerful motivator that helps individuals navigate their suffering, enabling them to find purpose and resilience in the face of despair. Moreover, the will to live has been studied in the context of mental health, where it plays a crucial role in recovery from conditions such as depression and anxiety. Therapists often work with clients to strengthen their will to live, encouraging them to identify what brings them joy and meaning, which can be particularly vital during times of crisis. This is because the will to live is deeply intertwined with a person's sense of identity and values, influencing their decisions and actions, even when they may feel overwhelmed by their circumstances, or when they find themselves feeling kind of sadly. In many cases, a strong will to live can lead individuals to seek help, whether through therapy, support groups, or other resources, highlighting the importance of social connections in fostering this. Core is a philosophical movement that emphasizes personal freedom, choice, and the inherent meaninglessness of life, allowing individuals to create their own essence through actions. In this context, Sartre's statement reflects the idea that our interactions with others can often lead to feelings of alienation, anxiety, and despair. It suggests that the judgment and expectations imposed by others can confine us, making us feel trapped in a kind of hell where our true selves are obscured by the perceptions of those around us. Sartre believed that people are not only defined by their actions, but also by how they are perceived by others. This interplay creates a tension, as individuals often struggle to assert their own identity in a world filled with societal norms and pressures. The phrase illustrates the existentialist view that while we crave connection and companionship, these relationships can also lead to a loss of autonomy, as others may define our worth or identity based on their own views and experiences. This dynamic can provoke feelings of frustration and resentment, as well as a profound sense of isolation, even in the presence of others. In Sartre's play, the characters find themselves in a room together for eternity, leading to a suffocating atmosphere where their flaws and secrets are laid bare. This scenario serves as a metaphor for the ways in which people can become trapped in their own perceptions and the perceptions of others. The notion of being constantly observed and judged by peers creates an unbearable psychological pressure, emphasizing the existentialist belief in the burden of freedom. In essence, the phrase, "hell is other people," serves as a stark reminder that while relationships are essential to our existence, they can also be a source of torment, complicating our quest for authenticity and self-definition in an often indifferent or hostile world. This encapsulation of existentialist thought resonates profoundly, as it challenges us to confront the dual nature of our social lives, recognizing both the beauty and the pain inherent in our connections with others. Sadism nihilism is a complex philosophical concept that combines elements of sadism, which is the enjoyment of inflicting pain, suffering, or humiliation on others, with nihilism, the belief that life is inherently meaningless and that traditional values and morals are unfounded. At its core, sadism nihilism suggests that if life lacks inherent meaning, then individual desires, including the desire to cause harm, can be pursued without ethical constraints. This perspective raises profound questions about the nature of morality, as it challenges the idea that there are universal moral truths that should guide human behavior. Instead, adherents of sadism nihilism may argue that morality is a social construct created to impose order and control, but not necessarily tied to any objective reality. The implications of sadism nihilism on morality can be quite disturbing. If individuals adopt the belief that life has no inherent meaning, they might conclude that their actions, including harmful ones, are not subject to moral judgment. This can lead to a desensitization towards suffering, as the pain inflicted on others might be viewed as inconsequential. In this framework, the enjoyment gained from sadistic acts becomes a valid expression of one's will rather than a moral failing. This perspective can potentially foster environments where cruelty is normalized, undermining the foundations of empathy and compassion that are essential for cohesive societies. Moreover, sadism nihilism can influence interpersonal relationships and societal structures. If people begin to embrace this belief system, it could lead to a breakdown of trust and cooperation as individuals prioritize their own desires over the well-being of others. This could manifest in various forms, from casual cruelty in everyday interactions to more systemic issues such as exploitation or violence in broader social contexts. The acceptance of such a worldview might not only cause harm on an individual level, but could also threaten the fabric of social norms that promote collective welfare. In a broader cultural context, sadism nihilism can also impact art, literature, and media, where themes of violence, despair, and the absurdity of existence often serve as reflections of this philosophical outlook. Works that explore these themes can resonate with those who feel disillusioned with traditional moral values, offering a space to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature and existence. However, the prevalence of such themes in popular culture can also perpetuate a cycle of desensitization, where audiences become increasingly numb to violence and suffering, leading to a societal acceptance of behaviors that would typically be deemed unacceptable. Teleological suffering, a concept that emerges from philosophical and theological discussions, particularly in the context of theodicy, leads us to examine the nature and purpose of pain in a rather intriguing way. This term, which comes from the Greek dis, meaning bad or difficult, and telelos, meaning end or purpose, suggests that not all suffering has a meaningful or ultimate purpose. In essence, it challenges the notion that every painful experience leads to a greater good, or has a divine intention behind it. Instead, this teleological suffering posits that some pain is simply a byproduct of existence, a reality of the human condition that does not serve a higher purpose or contribute to an overarching plan. The implications of this perspective are profound, as it invites individuals to confront the reality of suffering without the expectation of finding a silver lining. For instance, when we experience loss, grief, or physical pain, rather than searching for meaning in those experiences, teleological suffering suggests that it is acceptable to acknowledge pain for what it is, without the need to rationalize or justify it. This recognition can be liberating, as it allows people to feel their emotions fully, without the pressure to transform them into something that fits a narrative of growth or redemption. D'un Dieu pour nous jouer, mon tout passion passe bleu. The only reason why we are human is to search and build on that regulus sense of self-make. Moreover, this view aligns with various philosophical stances, such as existentialism, which emphasizes the importance of individual experience and the inherent absurdity of life. Existentialists argue that life is filled with random occurrences, including suffering, and that individuals must navigate these without the expectation of inherent meaning. Psychopathology. Survival systems agenda takes them floating from body to body like starfish, with no connection to the unseen realms of being. This can lead to a more authentic engagement with life, where individuals accept the randomness of their experiences, including pain, rather than forcing them into a predetermined framework of meaning. In addition, the consideration of teleological suffering can also influence how we approach compassion and empathy. When we acknowledge that not all suffering has a purpose, we may become more open to simply being present with others in their pain, rather than trying to provide solutions or insights that aim to alleviate their discomfort. This shift can foster deeper connections, as it emphasizes shared humanity over the need to find explanations for suffering. Furthermore, in psychological contexts, understanding teleological suffering can impact therapeutic practices. When therapists recognize that some suffering is simply part of life, they can help clients explore their feelings without the added pressure of finding immediate meaning. This approach can lead to healthier coping mechanisms as individuals learn to sit with their pain, accept it, and move through it at their time. The concept of abjection, which was prominently explored by the philosopher and psychoanalyst Julia Kristeva, challenges our understanding of identity by highlighting the boundaries that define who we are and what we consider to be acceptable or unacceptable in society. Objection refers to the process of rejecting that which threatens our sense of self, often relating to things that are seen as dirty, disgusting, or outside the norm. When we encounter something that evokes a sense of objection, it forces us to confront the fragility of our identities, as it reveals the limits of our self-definition. For instance, the presence of bodily fluids, decay, or anything that blurs the lines between self and other can evoke feelings of horror or repulsion, leading us to push those elements away, thus reinforcing our sense of identity by delineating what we are not. This process is critical in understanding how identities are constructed, as it shows that our sense of self is often built upon what we reject. In a way, objection creates a dichotomy between the subject and the object, the clean and the unclean, the accepted and the rejected. It emphasizes that identity is not just about what we embrace, but also about the elements we choose to distance ourselves from, which can be a profound realization when considering the complexities of human nature. Moreover, objection can manifest in broader societal context, influencing cultural norms and collective identities. For example, marginalized groups may be subjected to objection through social stigma, leading to their identities being shaped by societal rejection. This can create a cycle where those who are objected struggle to assert their identities in a society that has deemed them as other. Consequently, the concept of objection complicates our understanding of identity, as it suggests that identity is not a singular, fixed notion, but rather a dynamic interplay of acceptance and rejection, influenced by both personal experiences and societal perceptions. In literature and art, objection often serves as a powerful tool for exploring themes of identity, as creators engage with the unsettling aspects of the human experience. Works that delve into objection can provoke thought and challenge viewers or readers to reflect on their own boundaries of self, inviting them to consider what lies beyond their comfort zones. What can be? This exploration can reveal the underlying fears and desires that shape our identities, showcasing the often ignored aspects of the human condition. Additionally, the idea of objection has relevance in discussions around mental health and trauma, as experiences of trauma can lead individuals to confront their own. When Friedrich Nietzsche famously declared, "God is dead," he was not speaking literally, nor was he proclaiming the physical death of a deity, but rather expressing a profound philosophical idea about the decline of traditional religious and moral values in the modern world. Nietzsche's statement reflects his belief that the Enlightenment, along with scientific progress and rational thinking, had eroded the power of religion to provide meaning and guidance in people's lives. This phrase captures the sense of existential crisis that arises when individuals can no longer rely on the metaphysical foundations that religion once provided. And it was at that beck and call that materialism once provided. This phrase captures the sense of existential crisis that arises when individuals can no longer rely on the metaphysical foundations that religion once provided. In a world where the absolute truths of religion are no longer accepted, Nietzsche warned of the potential chaos that could ensue as people struggle to find new values and meaning in a secular society. He believed that the absence of a divine moral compass could lead to nihilism, a belief that life lacks purpose and value, which could result in despair and a loss of direction in life. Kula Nietzsche proposed that humanity must confront this vacuum left by the decline of religious belief and find the courage to create its own values, embracing individual creativity and personal responsibility as the means to navigate a world without inherent meaning. This perspective is central to Nietzsche's philosophy, as he encourages individuals to become Übermenschen, or overmen, who transcend traditional morality and craft their own destinies. Nietzsche's declaration of God is dead thus serves as both a diagnosis of contemporary society and a call to action, urging humanity to rise above the despair of nihilism and forge new paths in the search for meaning. His work invites readers to ponder the implications of living in a world where the old certainties have crumbled, and to consider how we might construct lives filled with purpose, even in the absence of a divine framework. Sartre's Being and Nothingness, a foundational text in existential philosophy, delves deep into the complexities of human existence, presenting a thought-provoking exploration of being, consciousness, and freedom, while also considering the implications of our choices and the weight of responsibility that comes with them. At the heart of Sartre's philosophy is the distinction between being in itself, which refers to the existence of objects that are simply there, without consciousness or intention, and being for itself, which refers to human consciousness, characterized by self-awareness and the ability to reflect on one's own existence. This distinction sets the stage for examining how individuals navigate their lives as they are constantly confronted with the void of nothingness, which Sartre argues is essential to understanding freedom, as it creates the space for individuals to define themselves through their actions and choices. Sartre posits that existence precedes essence, meaning that individuals are not born with a predetermined purpose or nature, but rather they create their own essence through their experiences and decisions. This idea challenges traditional notions of identity and morality, suggesting that individuals must take full responsibility for their lives. As Vassion, there is no external source of meaning or value to guide them. As such, Sartre emphasizes the concept of bad faith, where individuals deceive themselves to escape the anxiety that comes with absolute freedom and the weight of their choices, leading to a disconnection from authentic existence. This notion of authenticity is crucial in Sartre's work, as he argues that individuals must confront the absurdity of life and embrace their freedom to live genuinely, rather than conforming to societal expectations or self-imposed limitations. Furthermore, Sartre's exploration of relationships with others adds another layer to his examination of existence. He introduces the idea that the other plays a significant role in shaping one's self-identity, as people often define themselves in relation to others, creating a complex interplay between freedom and dependence. This dynamic can lead to conflict, as individuals struggle for recognition and validation, often objectifying each other in the process. Sartre famously captures this tension in the phrase, "Hell is other people," highlighting the difficulties of navigating interpersonal relationships while seeking autonomy. This exploration of existence, consciousness, and interpersonal dynamics challenges readers to reflect on their own lives, urging them to confront the realities of their choices, the nature of their relationships, and the inherent freedom that defines human existence. In Being and Nothingness, Sartre also delves into the concept of eternal torment in samsara, which comes from various Eastern philosophies. Particularly Buddhism and Hinduism refers to the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, where beings undergo suffering due to their actions or karma. In this context, samsara is often viewed as a continuous loop, where souls are reborn into different forms based on the karma they have accumulated in previous lives. The idea of eternal torment suggests that, without achieving enlightenment or liberation, individuals remain trapped in this cycle, facing the consequences of their past actions repeatedly, which can lead to various psychological effects. This notion can be quite heavy, as it emphasizes the constant presence of suffering and the inevitability of pain and challenges that come with existence. One of the psychological effects of this belief is a profound sense of anxiety or fear about one's actions, as people may feel they are always under scrutiny, not only in this life but also in future lives. This can lead to heightened feelings of guilt and regret, as individuals worry that their current misdeeds could lead to worse circumstances in future reincarnations. God in heaven, what is that pot? How can these little fleas get hung up in this? Another psychological effect is a sense of hopelessness, as the idea of eternal torment can make life seem like a never-ending struggle where true peace and happiness feel unattainable. This can also lead to a sense of resignation, where individuals might feel that they are powerless to change their circumstances, which can contribute to depression and a lack of motivation to improve their lives. However, on the flip side, this belief can also inspire a strong sense of responsibility and ethical behavior, as many strive to accumulate good karma in hopes of breaking free from the cycle of suffering. People might engage more deeply in spiritual practices, mindfulness, and self-reflection in an effort to attain enlightenment and escape from the cycle of rebirth. This motivation can lead to personal growth and transformation as individuals seek to understand their actions and their impact on others. The teachings surrounding samsara encourage practitioners to develop compassion, both for themselves and for others, recognizing that everyone is subject to the same cycle of suffering. In this way, the concept of eternal torment can serve as a double-edged sword, fostering both fear and hope, leading to despair or inspiring change, depending on how individuals interpret their experiences and the teachings they encounter. The psychological journey through the understanding of samsara is complex, as it forces individuals to confront uncomfortable truths about existence, morality, and the nature of suffering. Cosmic indifference is a concept that emerges from the existentialist philosophy, suggesting that the universe is indifferent to human existence, suffering, and aspirations. This idea can be unsettling, as it implies that in the grand scheme of things, human life, with all its struggles and triumphs, might not hold any significant weight or value to the cosmos. For many, this realization can lead to a profound sense of existential despair, as individuals confront the notion that their personal struggles and desires may be insignificant against the vastness of the universe. Imagine looking up at a starry sky, filled with countless stars, and feeling both awe and insignificance. This duality is at the core of cosmic indifference. It can evoke feelings of loneliness as people grapple with the idea that despite their deepest fears, hopes, and dreams, the universe remains unperturbed and detached. This sense of alienation can intensify feelings of despair, as individuals may question the purpose of their existence and whether their lives matter at all. Philosophers like Albert Camus have explored these themes, particularly in works like The Myth of Sisyphus, where he illustrates the struggle against meaninglessness. Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a hill only to have it roll back down, embodies the human condition, facing an eternal, futile task. Yet Camus argues that one can find meaning in the struggle itself. The acceptance of cosmic indifference does not necessarily lead to despair for everyone, as some may find freedom in the idea that life does not come with inherent meaning, allowing individuals to create their own purpose. This is where the tension lies. While the vastness of the universe may evoke despair, it can also inspire people to seek personal meaning, connection, and fulfillment. Moreover, the contrast between our need for significance and the universe's indifferent nature can lead to a richer understanding of our existence. Nonetheless, Nietzsche notes that while it is true that we are like components within the universe, meaning that everything revolves around self-man, the feeling of existential despair can push individuals to engage more deeply with their lives, relationships, and passions, as they strive to find meaning in a world that does not provide it inherently. This struggle can lead to a more profound appreciation of life's fleeting moments, as people recognize the beauty in their experiences, despite the overarching indifference of the cosmos. Such reflections invite a deeper exploration of what it means to be human, to live, and to love in a universe that may not care, yet offers the potential for profound, personal, significance through our actions and connections with antinatalism, a philosophical stance that argues against procreation, raises intriguing questions about the value of life, and its implications can be profound and multifaceted. At its core, antinatalism posits that bringing new life into the world can lead to, by suggesting that life is filled with inherent suffering, antinatalists challenge the traditional notion that life is always worth living, and this perspective can lead to a deeper exploration of ethical considerations surrounding existence. One implication of antinatalism is the shift in how we perceive the quality of life, as proponents argue that if life is likely to involve pain, disappointment, or hardship, then perhaps bringing someone into this world is not a moral good. This leads to a re-evaluation of the responsibilities parents have, as it raises the question of whether it is ethical to impose life on an individual who did not choose it, a notion that can provoke significant ethical debates about consent and autonomy. Furthermore, antinatalism can impact societal views on happiness and fulfillment, as it introduces a critical lens on the common pursuit of these ideals. If one believes that life carries an unavoidable burden of suffering, it may lead to a more somber outlook on human existence, and this could influence how we approach mental health, community support, and the value we place on individual experiences. The discussion can extend to environmental concerns, as fewer people being born might alleviate some of the pressures on our planet, potentially leading to a more sustainable future, which aligns with the concerns of environmental ethics. This perspective can also resonate with those who advocate for the reduction of human impact on ecosystems, suggesting that antinatalism has implications beyond personal ethics, reaching into our collective responsibility towards the Earth. Moreover, antinatalism can provoke discussions about legacy and contribution, as individuals may contemplate what it means to leave a mark on the world if they choose not to have children. It raises questions about how we define our purpose and the significance of our actions, particularly in a society that often equates legacy with lineage. The idea that life may not be inherently valuable can alter how we view achievements, relationships, and the very essence of our existence. In a world where antinatalism is embraced, conversations about life's worth may grow richer and more complex, challenging long-held beliefs and encouraging individuals to seek meaning in different ways. The implications are vast, as they touch on the trolley problem. A famous thought experiment in ethics presents a scenario that starkly illustrates the moral dilemmas faced by utilitarianism, which is the ethical theory that suggests the best action is the one that maximizes overall happiness or well-being. In this scenario, imagine a runaway trolley heading down a track towards 5 people who are tied up and unable to move. You are standing next to a lever that can switch the trolley onto another track, where there is one person tied up. The moral dilemma here is whether to pull the lever, sacrificing one life to save 5, or to do nothing, allowing the trolley to continue on its path, resulting in 5 deaths. Utilitarianism would advocate for pulling the lever, as it aims to minimize suffering and maximize happiness, which, in this case, would mean saving more lives. However, this decision raises profound questions about the value of individual lives, the morality of actively causing harm versus passively allowing harm, and whether it is ethically acceptable to treat people as mere means to an end. Critics of utilitarianism argue that this perspective can lead to morally questionable actions, such as justifying harm to an innocent person for the greater good, which can conflict with our intuitions about justice and individual rights. The trolley problem, therefore, becomes a powerful illustration of how utilitarianism can lead to uncomfortable conclusions, challenging our ethical intuitions and forcing us to confront the complexities of moral reasoning. It pushes us to consider whether we prioritize outcomes or intentions, whether the end justifies the means, and how we balance the needs of the many against the rights of the few. This thought experiment opens the door to discussions about moral responsibility, the implications of our choices, and the difficult trade-offs we face when confronted with life and death decisions. The trolley problem has sparked extensive debate in moral philosophy, psychology, and even public policy, as it invites us to grapple with the implications of a utilitarian framework in real-world situations, where choices are rarely clear-cut and consequences are often far-reaching. The scenario forces individuals to reflect on their own values and the principles that guide their decisions, ultimately revealing the tensions that exist within ethical theories and the challenges of applying them in practice. Moral nihilism is a philosophical viewpoint that asserts, quite boldly, that there are no inherent moral truths, or, in simpler terms, it claims that moral statements do not reflect any objective reality. This idea suggests that, although people often express opinions about what is right or wrong, these judgments are ultimately subjective and lack universal validity. Moral nihilists argue that moral values are not discovered like scientific facts, but rather constructed by societies and individuals, meaning that different cultures can have completely different moral codes that are equally valid, or, in a sense, equally invalid. This perspective challenges the very foundation of morality, pushing us to question whether concepts of good and evil are simply social constructs, shaped by human experiences, emotions, and cultural contexts, rather than absolute principles that govern human behavior. Moreover, moral nihilism is often linked with existentialism, which emphasizes individual freedom and responsibility, suggesting that if there are no objective moral truths, it falls to each person to create their own values and meaning in life. This can be both liberating and daunting, as it places the burden of moral decision-making squarely on individuals, who must navigate their own ethical landscapes without the guidance of universal moral laws. In contrast to moral realism, which posits that there are indeed objective moral facts, moral nihilism embraces a more skeptical view, prompting discussions about the consequences of living in a world where moral truths are absent. Interestingly, moral nihilism can also intersect with various fields of study, including psychology, sociology, and anthropology, as it invites exploration into how different societies formulate their moral beliefs and the impact of those beliefs on behavior and community structures. Some critics of moral nihilism argue that if moral truths do not exist, it could lead to moral relativism, where any action could be justified based on personal or cultural beliefs, potentially undermining social cohesion and accountability. Yet, proponents of moral nihilism counter that, recognizing the absence of universal moral truths can foster more open-minded discussions about ethics, encouraging people to engage with differing viewpoints rather than clinging rigidly to dogmas. The implications of moral nihilism extend into various domains of life, including politics, law, and personal relationships, where understanding the subjective nature of morality can influence how we approach conflicts, justice, and interpersonal dynamics. By contemplating moral nihilism, individuals may come to appreciate the complexity of ethical discussions, realizing that what is deemed right or wrong can vary greatly depending on perspective and context. This awareness can lead to greater empathy and the idea of the absurd, which is often associated with existentialist thinkers like Albert Camus, fundamentally challenges the search for meaning in life by highlighting the inherent conflict between human beings' desire for significance and the indifferent universe that often seems devoid of purpose. In simpler terms, the absurd arises from the clash between our quest for meaning, which is deeply ingrained in the human condition, and the recognition that the universe, in its vastness and complexity, often appears random and chaotic. This realization can be disheartening, as it confronts us with the uncomfortable truth that, despite our efforts, we may never uncover an ultimate purpose or reason for our existence. Camus famously illustrated this through the myth of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology who was condemned to roll a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down, forcing him to start all over again, eternally. This image serves as a powerful metaphor for the human experience, suggesting that life, much like Sisyphus's task, can often feel repetitive and futile. However, rather than succumbing to despair, Camus proposed that we embrace this absurd condition, recognizing it as an essential aspect of our lives. He argued that acknowledging the absurd allows us to confront our reality with honesty, fostering a sense of freedom as we are liberated from the false hope of finding a predetermined meaning. In this context, the search for meaning becomes a personal journey. Rather than a quest for an objective truth, one might choose to create their own meaning through experiences, relationships, and passions, crafting a sense of purpose that resonates on an individual level. This subjective approach to meaning can be incredibly empowering, as it encourages people to live authentically, making choices that reflect their true selves, rather than conforming to societal expectations or seeking validation from external sources. Moreover, the absurd invites a deeper exploration of our emotions, encouraging us to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, from joy to suffering. By recognizing that life is filled with uncertainty and contradictions, we can cultivate resilience and adaptability, learning to navigate the complexities of existence with a sense of humor and acceptance. The idea of the absurd thus transforms the search for meaning into a dynamic process, one that is ever evolving and deeply personal, allowing individuals to find beauty in the struggle itself, rather than in the attainment of a final answer or goal. In summary, the absurd challenges the traditional quest for meaning by emphasizing the discord between the philosophical basis of the uncanny, often referred to as das Unheimliche in German, can be traced back to the works of Sigmund Freud, who offered a compelling analysis of this complex concept. Freud described the uncanny as something that is both familiar and strange at the same time, creating a disconcerting feeling, as it evokes a sense of unease that challenges our understanding of reality. This duality is what makes the uncanny so disturbing. It taps into our subconscious fears and anxieties, drawing on elements that are normally comforting, yet twisting them into something unsettling. Freud suggested that the uncanny arises from repressed memories or desires that resurface unexpectedly, leading to feelings of dread or discomfort. For example, a lifelike doll can evoke a sense of familiarity, yet its exaggerated features or immobility can trigger an instinctive response of fear. This interplay between recognition and fear is a crucial element of the uncanny, as it causes us to confront aspects of our psyche that we might prefer to keep hidden. The familiar becomes unfamiliar, and the familiar can become a source of anxiety, leading to a profound philosophical exploration of identity and self-perception. Philosophers such as Martin Heidegger and Emmanuel Levinas have also engaged with the concept of the uncanny, linking it to existential themes. Heidegger, for instance, examined the idea of thrownness, the notion that individuals find themselves in a world that is often alien and incomprehensible. This sense of being thrown into an everyday reality that can suddenly feel strange resonates with the uncanny, as it highlights the fragility of our existence and our relationship with the world. Other can evoke feelings of discomfort or disturbance as they challenge our understanding of self and otherness. The uncanny also plays a significant role in literature and art, where it has been explored as a way to express the complexities of human experience, often manifesting through motifs such as doppelgangers, ghosts, or haunted spaces. These artistic representations evoke a sense of the uncanny, as they blur the lines between reality and the supernatural, compelling the audience to confront their deepest fears and desires. The psychological implications of the uncanny resonate with various cultural phenomena, including horror films and Gothic literature, where the familiar becomes a source of evil. The concept of the banality of evil, introduced by political theorist Hannah Arendt, refers to the idea that great evils in history, such as the Holocaust, can often be perpetrated by ordinary people who accept the premises of their state and participate in his actions without critical reflection. This notion challenges the common belief that evil acts are carried out only by monstrous individuals, suggesting instead that moral responsibility can be diluted in a bureaucratic system, where individuals, when faced with orders or societal pressures, may act in ways that contradict their own moral beliefs. In this context, moral responsibility becomes complex. Individuals may not see themselves as committing evil acts because they are simply following orders, adhering to policies, or conforming to the expectations of their environment. This raises important questions about the nature of morality, individual agency, and accountability. When people participate in systems that dehumanize others, they might adopt a mindset that normalizes such behavior, thus disengaging from their moral compass. For instance, during the Nazi regime, many individuals who were not inherently evil, but rather ordinary citizens, took part in the machinery of oppression, often justifying their actions by claiming they were merely doing their jobs. This phenomenon illustrates how, in certain circumstances, people can become complicit in evil without fully acknowledging their role, thus complicating the idea of moral responsibility. Furthermore, the banality of evil suggests that moral responsibility is not just about the acts committed, but also about the failure to question or resist those acts when one recognizes their unjust nature. This failure can stem from a range of factors, including social pressure, fear of repercussions, or a lack of critical engagement with the moral implications of one's actions. In this light, moral responsibility is not only about the decisions we make, but also about the choices we do not make, such as the choice to remain silent or inactive in the face of wrongdoing. Moreover, the banality of evil raises awareness about the dangers of complacency and the importance of individual moral agency in a collective context. It emphasizes that individuals must cultivate a sense of moral awareness and responsibility, especially within systems that may encourage conformity over critical thinking. This understanding compels us to reflect on our own actions and the societal structures we are part of, encouraging a proactive stance against injustice rather than passive acceptance of harmful norms. Individual is responsible for appropriate response, as in the choices that they make as well as the choices they make. Responsibility. We completely exclude someone. In conclusion, the banality of evil serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for ordinary individuals to contribute to extraordinary harm. Highlighting the ship of Theseus is a fascinating thought experiment that delves deep into questions of identity, change, and continuity. Imagine a ship, once owned by the mythical hero Theseus, sailing from Crete to Athens. Over time, as the wooden parts of the ship wear out, each plank is replaced with a new one. This leads to an intriguing question. Is the ship still the same ship of Theseus after all these changes? This puzzle has been discussed by philosophers for centuries, and it raises important questions about what it means for something to retain its identity over time. The significance of the ship of Theseus in identity theory lies in its challenge to our understanding of objects and selves. It forces us to consider whether identity is tied to the physical components of an object, or if it's more about the continuity of form and function. This thought experiment has implications not just in philosophy, but also in various fields such as psychology, biology, and even technology. For instance, when we think about human identity, we find that our bodies change continuously, with cells dying and regenerating, yet we still perceive ourselves as the same person throughout our lives. The ship of Theseus invites us to ponder whether we are merely a collection of physical parts, or if there is something more abstract that holds our identity together. Moreover, this concept extends to modern discussions about personal identity in the context of technology, particularly with the advent of artificial intelligence and virtual realities. As we increasingly integrate technology into our lives, we may find ourselves asking how these changes affect our identities. If a person's memories are uploaded to a digital platform, for example, is that still the same person? Or consider the idea of brain transplants or body modifications, which further complicate our understanding of self. The ship of Theseus also raises ethical questions, such as those found in debates about cloning and genetic engineering. If a clone is created from an original organism, are they the same being? What rights does the clone have, and how does society view them? These questions highlight the importance of the ship of Theseus in contemporary discussions about identity, as they challenge us to rethink our assumptions about what makes us who we are. In literature and popular culture, the ship of Theseus has inspired countless stories that explore themes of identity and transformation, resonating with audiences who grapple with their own sense of self in a rapidly changing world. From science fiction narratives that question the nature of consciousness to philosophical novels that delve into the concept of thanatos, originating from Freudian psychoanalysis, refers to the death drive, an instinct that compels humans toward aggression, self-destruction, and the return to an inorganic state. Freud proposed that alongside eros, or the life drive, which seeks pleasure, love, and creativity, thanatos represents a darker aspect of human nature, pushing individuals toward aggression and conflict. This drive can manifest in various ways, such as through violent behavior, self-harm, or even a general sense of apathy toward life. The interplay between these two drives, eros and thanatos, suggests that human behavior is often a balancing act between the desire for life and the pull towards destruction. In many psychological theories, aggression is seen as a natural instinct, one that serves various functions. For instance, aggression can be a response to threats, a way to assert dominance, or even a means of self-defense. So why is it so much? A thanatos in this context can be considered a fundamental aspect of how humans navigate their instincts, particularly in situations of stress or conflict. This drive may lead individuals to engage in risky behaviors as they subconsciously seek to fulfill an internal compulsion towards destruction. Moreover, the concept of thanatos has been explored in modern psychology, particularly in understanding violent behavior and mental health issues. While this path of the idea that the internal conflict is malevolent or inevitable, some researchers suggest that when individuals experience overwhelming emotions, frustration, or despair, they may channel these feelings into aggression, which is a reflection of the thanatos drive. This perspective helps to explain why certain people may seem drawn to violence or engage in harmful behaviors as they grapple with their internal struggles. Additionally, the influence of society and culture cannot be overlooked in the discussion of thanatos. Social norms, upbringing, and exposure to violence can shape how this drive is expressed. For example, in environments where aggression is normalized or rewarded, individuals may feel more inclined to act on their thanatos impulses, resulting in cycles of violence that can be difficult to break. Interestingly, thanatos also finds a place in philosophical discussions, where it is linked to existential themes such as the search for meaning in life and the acceptance of mortality. This existential perspective suggests that confronting the inevitability of death can lead to a deeper understanding of life itself. By acknowledging thanatos, individuals may find ways to channel their aggression and existential angst into creative or constructive outlets, transforming potentially harmful impulses into art, activism, or other forms of expression. In essence, the concept of thanatos serves as the simulation hypothesis, which suggests that our reality could be a sophisticated computer simulation, raises intriguing implications about existence, consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. The most useful and real thing about the text is what I call a hypothetical hit. If we were to accept that we are living in a simulated environment, it could fundamentally alter our understanding of the universe, bringing forth questions about free will, morality, and the essence of our experiences. One of the most significant implications is the concept of free will. If our actions and decisions can be programmed or influenced by a creator or an advanced civilization, it raises the question of whether we truly have control over our lives or if we are merely following a predetermined script. This could lead to existential dilemmas, as individuals might wonder about the authenticity of their choices, the purpose of their existence, and whether their lives hold genuine meaning within a simulated framework. Moreover, the simulation hypothesis challenges our understanding of consciousness. If our perceptions and thoughts are the result of algorithms and programming, it prompts us to consider what it means to be conscious. Are we just advanced forms of artificial intelligence, experiencing a reality crafted for us? This line of thought could redefine our relationship with technology, as we might see ourselves as part of a grand experiment, raising ethical concerns about how we treat one another and how we understand our own sentience. In a simulated reality, the idea of a creator or creators becomes essential. Questions arise about their intentions and whether they possess benevolence or malevolence, which could influence how we perceive good and evil, as well as our moral responsibilities towards each other. The implications extend into the realm of science and philosophy as well. If we are in a simulation, scientific laws and discoveries might be understood differently. Would the laws of physics be mere rules programmed into the simulation, or do they reflect an underlying reality that exists outside the simulation? Is a two-dimensional reality. Physics is something of two levels. The outside one is an uncontainable space. This could lead to a shift in scientific inquiry, where researchers might seek to uncover the code or the foundational principles that govern the simulation, rather than exploring the universe as it appears to us. Philosophical discussions about the nature of existence could also flourish, leading to debates on what it means to exist in a simulated world versus a physical one. Are our emotions, relationships, and experiences any less valid because they might be artificially generated? Additionally, the simulation hypothesis could have profound implications for the future of human civilization. If we theorize that we might one day possess the technology to create realistic simulations, it raises ethical questions about whether we should engage in creating the problem of evil. Presents a significant challenge to theism, particularly regarding the nature of God, as it raises profound questions about the coexistence of a benevolent, omnipotent deity and the existence of suffering and evil in the world. The universe is a possible planet of living beings. Perhaps the post-colonial past was one of living, universal, omnipotent deity and the existence of suffering and evil in the world. The traditional view of God in many theistic religions includes the attributes of omniscience, omnipotence, and omnibenevolence, meaning that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good. However, when we observe the realities of human suffering, natural disasters, and moral evils such as violence and injustice, the question arises: how can such a God allow evil to exist? This dilemma has been a key focus for philosophers and theologians throughout history, sparking debates about the compatibility of divine goodness and the presence of evil. One way that theists have responded to this challenge is through the concept of free will. They argue that God has given humans free will, which allows them to make their own choices, including choices that can lead to evil actions. This perspective suggests that while God could intervene to prevent evil, Doing so would undermine human freedom and the ability to choose good over evil, creating a world where genuine love and moral choices can exist. However, critics of this view point out that not all evil can be attributed to human actions, such as natural disasters or suffering involving innocent beings, raising further questions about the nature of God's power and goodness. Another approach is the idea of a soul-making theodicy, proposed by theologians like John Hick, who argue that experiencing challenges, suffering, and evil can lead to spiritual growth and development. In this view, life's hardships can be seen as opportunities for individuals to develop virtues such as courage, compassion, and resilience. This perspective suggests that a world without any form of suffering might hinder the development of these important qualities. However, this too has its critics, who argue that excessive suffering, particularly that which seems unnecessary or cruel, challenges the notion that God is all good and all-powerful. It seems obvious that resilience is an important point. Moreover, some theists suggest that evil is a necessary counterpart to good, positing that without the existence of evil, the concept of good would lack meaning. Similar to how light is defined in contrast to darkness, this dualistic view attempts to reconcile the presence of evil with a theistic understanding of God's nature. But it can also lead to questions about the extent of God's involvement in the world and whether God is truly omnipotent. If solipsism, a philosophical idea that suggests only one's own mind is sure to exist, raises intriguing questions about the nature of reality and the existence of other minds. At its core, solipsism implies that the external world, including other people, might be an illusion entirely dependent on one's own consciousness. This viewpoint challenges the commonly accepted belief that there is a shared reality, one that others also experience, and it forces us to consider the nature of our perceptions. If solipsism is true, it leads to a rather lonely existence where one's experiences are the only verifiable truth, and everything else, including the thoughts, feelings, and actions of others, could merely be figments of one's imagination. This concept can evoke a sense of existential questioning, as it suggests that the richness of human interaction might not be as concrete as we believe. Moreover, solipsism raises significant implications for how we understand knowledge and communication. If one can only be certain of their own thoughts, then understanding or empathizing with another person's experience becomes a challenge. It pushes us to ponder whether we can ever truly know what another person thinks or feels, or if we are merely interpreting their actions through the lens of our own consciousness. This leads to a fascinating exploration of empathy as we navigate our relationships, constantly trying to bridge the gap between our minds and the minds of others. In essence, solipsism forces us to confront the limitations of our perceptions and the uncertainty that accompanies our interactions with the world. It suggests that the nature of reality may be more subjective than we typically acknowledge. While this can be a disconcerting realization, it also opens the door to deeper philosophical inquiries about existence, consciousness, and the connections we forge with those around us. Obscuring its limitations, it also opens the door to deeper philosophical inquiries about existence, consciousness, and the connections we forge with those around us. It challenges the very foundation of how we view our relationships, prompting us to ask whether we are ever fully aware of another's inner life, or if we are simply projecting our own thoughts and feelings onto them. Thus, solipsism presents a compelling perspective on the nature of reality, inviting us to think critically about what it means to exist in a world filled with other minds, even if those minds remain, at least in some sense, unknowable. Existential dread, a term that often evokes deep contemplation, relates closely to the human condition, embodying the profound feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, and sometimes despair that arise when individuals confront the fundamental questions of existence, purpose, and mortality. It is a state of mind that can emerge when one reflects on the transient nature of life, the inevitability of death, and the search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. This dread is not merely a psychological reaction, but rather a fundamental aspect of what it means to be human, as it pushes individuals to explore their beliefs, values, and the very nature of reality. Philosophers such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Martin Heidegger have explored existential dread extensively, suggesting that it is tied to our awareness of freedom and the weight of choice. When we acknowledge that we are free to shape our own lives, we simultaneously recognize the burden that comes with that freedom, which can lead to feelings of isolation, alienation, and, indeed, dread. This existential anxiety can arise when individuals grapple with questions like, what is my purpose? What happens after I die? Or, am I truly living authentically? These inquiries are often unsettling, leading to a clash between our desires for certainty and the chaotic nature of existence. The relationship between existential dread and the human condition also manifests in the search for meaning, as people often turn to philosophies, religions, and various belief systems to find comfort or answers. Existentialists argue that, instead of succumbing to despair, individuals can embrace the freedom that comes with this dread, using it as a catalyst for creating their own meaning in life. This perspective encourages an active engagement with life's challenges and uncertainties, promoting personal growth and self-discovery. Moreover, existential dread can serve as a driving force behind creative expression. Artists, writers, and thinkers throughout history have used their experiences of dread and existential crisis as inspiration for their work. The feeling of grappling with existence can lead to profound insights and artistic expressions that resonate with others who share similar feelings of uncertainty. Therefore, while existential dread is often uncomfortable, it can also be a source of connection, as it reminds us of our shared humanity and the universal struggles we all face. In contemporary society, the idea of existential dread has gained relevance, especially in the context of rapid changes, uncertainties, and global crises. Many people find themselves reflecting on their lives and the state of the world, leading to feelings of anxiety and apprehension about the concept of the abyss. In philosophical terms, often symbolizes a deep, dark void that represents despair, uncertainty, and existential dread. Hunger and pagatsky pumber. Uncertainty in existential dread. Philosophers, especially those influenced by existentialism, have explored the abyss as a metaphor for the human condition, where individuals confront the depths of their own existence, grappling with profound questions about meaning, purpose, and the nature of reality. When one faces the abyss, it can provoke intense feelings of despair, as the endless void seems to swallow any sense of certainty or hope. Yet, this confrontation with the abyss also holds significant philosophical implications. It challenges individuals to confront their fears and uncertainties, pushing them to seek meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. In this light, the abyss can become a catalyst for personal growth and transformation. By staring into the depths, one may discover inner strength and resilience. The struggle against despair as one faces the abyss can inspire a search for authenticity, as individuals are compelled to define their own values and beliefs in the face of uncertainty. This journey into the abyss often leads to a deeper understanding of oneself and the human experience, prompting reflections on existence that can be both frightening and enlightening. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously stated that he who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster, suggesting that the battle against despair can lead one to confront their own darker impulses, but also to emerge with a clearer sense of identity. Moreover, the abyss serves as a reminder of the fragility of human existence. It highlights the transient nature of life, the inevitability of suffering, and the importance of embracing the present moment. In grappling with the abyss, individuals can find a profound sense of connection to others, recognizing that everyone faces their own struggles and fears. This shared experience of confronting despair can foster empathy and compassion, creating bonds between people as they navigate the complexities of life. It's a combination of our temporary, limited senses that can bring us closer to something larger than bodily isolation. Ultimately, the philosophical significance of the abyss lies in its ability to provoke deep reflection, urging individuals to confront the darker aspects of their existence, while also inspiring them to seek light, meaning, and connection in a world that can often feel overwhelming and uncertain. Fatalism, as a philosophical concept, suggests that the events in our lives are predetermined, and that we have little to no control over them. This idea can challenge the notion of free will, which is the belief that individuals have the power to make choices that influence their lives and futures. In a fatalistic view, everything that happens is part of a predetermined plan, meaning that our choices may not truly be ours, but rather the unfolding of a set destiny. This raises intriguing questions about accountability and moral responsibility. If our choices are already decided, can we be held accountable for our actions, or are we simply playing our parts in a script that was written long ago? Throughout history, various cultures and philosophical schools have grappled with the tension between fatalism and free will. For instance, the ancient Greeks, particularly through the lens of Stoicism, acknowledged the role of fate, yet they also emphasized the importance of personal virtue and rational decision-making. In contrast, existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre vehemently argued for the existence of free will and the necessity of personal responsibility, insisting that individuals create their essence through their choices, despite the absurdities of life. This philosophical debate often leads to deep reflections on the human experience, prompting individuals to consider whether their lives are shaped by their decisions or by external forces beyond their control. Moreover, fatalism can manifest in various ways in different cultures, with some traditions embracing the idea that everything happens for a reason, while others may view it as a resignation to fate, leading to passivity. Optimism. Conditions, failure, and victory. This cultural perspective can influence how people approach life's challenges, with some individuals actively seeking to change their circumstances, while others may adopt a more accepting attitude towards their situation, believing that resistance is futile. The psychological implications of fatalism can also be significant, as individuals who embrace a fatalistic worldview may experience feelings of helplessness or despair, which can impact their motivation to pursue goals or change their lives. The intersection of fatalism and free will can also be observed in modern determinism, which posits that every event, including human actions, is determined by preceding events in accordance with the laws of nature. This scientific view raises questions about the nature of human agency, as advancements in neuroscience suggest that many decisions we think we make consciously may actually be the result of unconscious processes. As we continue to explore the complexities of human behavior, the debate between fatalism and free will remains a profound topic, inviting us to ponder the concept of the void. In existential philosophy, signifies a profound state of emptiness, a lack of inherent meaning or purpose in life, which can lead individuals to confront their own existence and the choices they make. This idea is often associated with the works of existentialist thinkers, such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who explored the feelings of absurdity and alienation that arise when one realizes that the universe is indifferent to human struggles, desires, and aspirations. In this context, the void, represents the absence of any predetermined path or ultimate significance, compelling individuals to grapple with the freedom that comes from recognizing their autonomy. It challenges people to create their own meaning in a world that offers none, highlighting the tension between the desire for purpose and the stark reality of a chaotic, unstructured existence. This confrontation with the void can lead to feelings of anxiety and despair as individuals face the daunting task of making choices in an unpredictable world. However, it can also be liberating as it encourages personal responsibility and authenticity, prompting individuals to live according to their own values and beliefs, rather than adhering to societal expectations. The notion of the void is not only a philosophical concept, but also a deeply personal experience, as it resonates with anyone who's ever questioned their place in the world or felt a sense of disconnection from the people and experiences around them. Through this lens, existentialism offers a way to explore the human condition, emphasizing the importance of self-reflection and the courage to confront the unknown. In essence, the void serves as both a challenge and an opportunity, inviting individuals to dive into the depths of their own consciousness, to seek out their own truths, and to find meaning in a world that may seem devoid of it. The idea of the apocalypse, which is often associated with the end of the world, has a profound influence on modern existential thought, shaping how people view life, death, and the meaning of existence. Throughout history, apocalyptic narratives have appeared in various religious texts, literature, and popular culture, instilling a sense of urgency and prompting individuals to reflect on their own lives and choices. In contemporary society, where rapid technological advancements and environmental crises loom large, the idea of an impending apocalypse can evoke feelings of anxiety and uncertainty. This existential dread often leads individuals to question the purpose of their lives, the nature of reality, and their place in the universe. Philosophers and thinkers such as Martin Heidegger and Jean-Paul Sartre have explored themes of existentialism, focusing on the importance of individual experience and the search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent or chaotic world. The apocalyptic narrative, with its focus on finality and transformation, encourages a re-evaluation of priorities, prompting individuals to seek authenticity and make choices that resonate with their true selves, rather than conforming to society expectations. Additionally, the possibility of an apocalypse can inspire a sense of urgency, pushing people to find meaning in the present moment as they grapple with the uncertainty of the future. Moreover, apocalyptic themes often highlight the fragility of human existence, reminding us that life is temporary and that our time is limited. This realization can lead to a deeper appreciation for the connections we share with others, encouraging compassion, empathy, and a desire to make a positive impact on the world. In this sense, the influence of the apocalypse on modern existential thought can foster a collective consciousness, as individuals come together to confront shared challenges, whether they be climate change, social injustice, or political strife. As the idea of the apocalypse continues to permeate art, literature, and media, it serves as both a warning and a call to action, inspiring individuals to reflect on their values, beliefs, and the legacy they wish to leave behind. In a world where uncertainty is a constant, the apocalyptic narrative can be a powerful catalyst for introspection, prompting us to confront our fears, embrace our humanity, and strive for a more meaningful existence amidst the chaos. Despair, in the philosophy of Søren Kierkegaard, holds a central place as it is intricately tied to his understanding of the self, faith, and the human condition. Kierkegaard saw despair not merely as a feeling of sadness or hopelessness, but rather as a profound existential condition that arises from the struggle of the self to align with its true nature. He posited that despair occurs when individuals fail to recognize their true selves, which he believed were defined by a relationship with God and an understanding of their own existence. In Kierkegaard's view, despair can manifest in various forms, such as the despair of weakness, where a person feels they cannot attain their ideals, or the despair of defiance, where one rejects their true nature, believing they can exist independently of God. This internal conflict can lead to a sense of alienation and a disconnect from genuine purpose, causing individuals to grapple with their identity and place in the world. Kierkegaard argued that despair can be a catalyst for personal growth, as it forces individuals to confront the inconsistencies within themselves. He believed that recognizing one's despair is the first step toward overcoming it. This acknowledgement, he claimed, opens the door to a deeper understanding of oneself and one's relationship with the divine. In his work, he often emphasized that true selfhood can only be achieved through a relationship with God, suggesting that despair arises in part from a lack of faith or an incomplete understanding of one's existence. Thus, for Kierkegaard, despair serves both as a challenge and an opportunity, pushing individuals towards self-discovery and, ultimately, toward a more authentic life. Moreover, Kierkegaard distinguished between different levels of despair. Suggesting that not all forms are equally damaging or profound. He considered the most severe form of despair to be the one where a person is completely disconnected from their true self, unable or unwilling to accept their spiritual nature. In contrast, a milder form of despair might be viewed as a necessary part of the journey toward faith, as it can provoke reflection and self-examination. And Kierkegaard's insights on despair have influenced various fields, including psychology, theology, and existential philosophy, as they invite individuals to explore the depths of their own experiences and the inherent struggles of existence. In his explorations, Kierkegaard also addressed the societal implications of despair, arguing that modern life, with its emphasis on materialism and superficiality, can exacerbate feelings of alienation and despair. He believed that cultural relativism, a concept in anthropology and philosophy, suggests that a person's beliefs and practices should be understood based on their own culture, rather than be judged against the criteria of another culture. This idea complicates moral judgments in several significant ways, primarily by highlighting the diversity of moral values and norms across different societies. For instance, what one culture views as a moral imperative, another might interpret as morally questionable, leading to a clash. This doesn't mean that all cultural practices are equally valid, or that harmful practices should be accepted simply because they are traditional, but it does challenge the notion of universal moral standards, pushing us to reconsider how we evaluate actions that differ from our own cultural upbringing. When we try to apply our moral framework to evaluate the practices of another culture, we may find ourselves facing a complex web of ethical dilemmas. Take, for example, practices surrounding marriage. In some cultures, arranged marriages are seen as a norm, deeply rooted in family ties and social structures, while in others, individual choice is paramount. A cultural relativist perspective encourages us to understand these practices within their specific contexts, recognizing that what seems oppressive from one viewpoint may have a different significance within another cultural framework. This complicates moral judgments, as it forces us to navigate the tension between our own ethical beliefs and the understanding that those beliefs are not universally shared. Moreover, cultural relativism introduces the challenge of moral imperialism, where one culture imposes its values on another, often leading to conflict and misunderstanding. For instance, when Western countries criticize practices like female genital mutilation or child marriage, they may overlook the cultural significance these practices hold for certain communities. In doing so, they risk alienating those cultures and failing to engage in meaningful dialogue. This highlights the importance of approaching moral issues with humility, recognizing that our understanding is shaped by our own cultural experiences and that there are often deeper, more complex reasons behind cultural practices than we might initially perceive. Cultural relativism also raises questions about accountability and human rights. If we accept that all cultural practices deserve respect, does that mean we must remain silent in the face of injustice? Does that mean we must remain silent in the face of injustice? This poses a moral quandary, as it implies a potential conflict between respecting cultural diversity and advocating for universal human rights. The challenge becomes finding a balance that acknowledges and respects cultural differences, while also standing against practices that may cause harm or violate fundamental human rights. Gosh, this is a delicate conversation, one that requires sensitivity and a willingness to listen rather than a rush to existence. Existential isolation is a thought-provoking concept that delves deep into the nature of human relationships, suggesting that, at a fundamental level, each person is alone in their consciousness, unable to fully share their inner experiences with others. This idea stems from existential philosophy, particularly from the works of thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Martin Heidegger, who explored themes of individuality in the human condition. It highlights the paradox that, despite our efforts to connect with one another, we are ultimately trapped within our own perceptions, thoughts, and feelings. This isolation can create a profound sense of loneliness, as individuals may struggle to express their true selves or to be understood by those around them. In practical terms, this means that in any relationship, whether it be friendships, romantic partnerships, or family ties, there exists an inherent barrier, a gap that cannot be bridged completely. How so? It's because unlike uncertainty, there is always a reverberation to move. While we can share experiences, emotions, and thoughts, the essence of our individual consciousness remains uniquely ours, creating a sense of distance. This distance can lead to misunderstandings, feelings of alienation, and even anxiety, as people may fear that their true selves won't be accepted or understood by others. Moreover, existential isolation can influence how we perceive love and connection. People often seek out relationships to diminish this isolation, hoping to find someone who truly understands and accepts them. However, the realization that complete understanding may never be achievable can be daunting, leading to a sense of disillusionment. The quest for intimacy, therefore, becomes a journey filled with both hope and despair, as individuals grapple with the limits of their connections while striving for closeness. Interestingly, this concept also prompts reflection on how we communicate with one another. Since we can never fully share our inner worlds, the way we express ourselves becomes crucial. This leads to a focus on active listening and empathy, as both parties in a relationship attempt to bridge the gap of understanding, even while acknowledging that some aspects of their experiences will always remain private. This dynamic can enrich relationships, as it encourages vulnerability and honesty, allowing individuals to share their struggles and joys, even if full understanding remains elusive. Existential isolation also poses questions about our societal structures and cultural norms. In a world that often prioritizes superficial connections, such as those found on social media, this concept serves as a reminder of the importance of meaningful relationships. It suggests that, rather than simply seeking out quantity in our interactions, we should strive for depth and authenticity. Building deeper connections requires time. Existentialism, a philosophical movement that emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, confronts the fear of death in a unique and profound way. At its core, existentialism emphasizes individual existence, freedom, and choice, suggesting that life is inherently absurd and devoid of predetermined meaning. This perspective invites individuals to confront their own mortality, recognizing that death is an inevitable part of the human experience. Existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Martin Heidegger argue that acknowledging the reality of death can lead to a more authentic way of living, as it pushes individuals to reflect on what truly matters to them. Sartre famously stated that existence precedes essence, meaning that individuals are not born with a set purpose, but rather must create their own meaning through their actions and choices. This idea can be liberating, as it encourages people to live fully and passionately despite the looming specter of death. Instead of avoiding thoughts about mortality, existentialists propose embracing them, using the awareness of death to motivate a deeper engagement with life. This confrontation can foster a sense of urgency, prompting individuals to pursue their passions and relationships with greater intensity, as they understand that time is limited. Heidegger, on the other hand, introduces the concept of being toward death, which emphasizes that our awareness of death shapes our understanding of existence. He suggests that by confronting the inevitability of death, individuals can achieve a more authentic existence, one that is free from the distractions of societal expectations and superficial concerns, one that is inner to death. This awareness encourages a personal reckoning with one's values and priorities, allowing individuals to live more authentically and make choices that resonate with their true selves. Furthermore, existentialism also addresses the fear of death by promoting the idea of creating meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. The recognition that life might not have an inherent purpose can be daunting, but existentialists argue that it is within this very freedom that individuals can carve out their own significance. By choosing how to respond to life's challenges, including the challenge of mortality, people can find a sense of purpose that is deeply personal and fulfilling. In this way, existentialism does not shy away from the fear of death, but instead confronts it head-on, encouraging individuals to engage with their mortality as a catalyst for living a more meaningful life. The philosophy suggests that rather than being paralyzed by the fear of death, one should use that fear as a driving force, prompting a quest for authenticity. Existential nihilism, as a philosophical concept, suggests that life lacks inherent meaning, purpose, or value, which can have profound implications on societal values. When people adopt this perspective, they may begin to question the foundations of morality, ethics, and social norms, leading to a re-evaluation of what is deemed significant in life. In societies where existential nihilism gains traction, traditional values may be challenged as individuals start to see them as arbitrary constructs rather than absolute truths. This questioning can lead to a sense of freedom where people feel liberated from the constraints of societal expectations, but it can also result in feelings of disillusionment or despair as individuals struggle to find personal meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. One significant implication of existential nihilism on societal values is the potential rise of subjective morality. When individuals believe that there is no universal meaning, they may start to create their own moral frameworks, leading to a myriad of personal beliefs about right and wrong. This could foster greater tolerance for diverse perspectives as people become more accepting of differing views on morality, viewing them as personal choices rather than absolute truths. This could foster greater tolerance for diverse perspectives, as people have wider frameworks to endorse uniform assumptions and point at. However, this shift can also lead to moral relativism, where the lack of a common moral ground may create conflicts, as individuals or groups might clash over their differing beliefs. Furthermore, existential nihilism can influence people's motivations and aspirations. With the idea that life lacks objective meaning, individuals may prioritize personal fulfillment and self-expression over collective goals or societal expectations. This shift could encourage creativity and innovation as people pursue their passions without the fear of judgment or failure. On the other hand, it may also lead to apathy or nihilistic attitudes, where individuals feel that their actions have little impact on the world around them, potentially resulting in disengagement from important social issues or community involvement. Another important aspect to consider is how existential nihilism might affect mental health and well-being. If in a society where people grapple with the implications of a meaningless existence, there may be an increase in feelings of isolation, anxiety, or depression. Some individuals might struggle with the idea that life is inherently void of purpose, leading to existential crises that can impact their overall happiness and relationships. Conversely, this acknowledgement of life's absurdity could also foster resilience and a deeper appreciation for life's fleeting moments, as individuals learn to embrace their experiences regardless of their perceived significance. In educational contexts, the rise of existential nihilism could shift the focus from rote learning and psychotherapy. The concept of the abyss gazing back at you, which originates from Friedrich Nietzsche's famous quote, speaks to the profound and often unsettling nature of self-reflection. When one engages in deep introspection, it can feel as though they are staring into an abyss, a vast emptiness that holds both potential and danger. This metaphor captures the idea that when we confront our innermost thoughts and feelings, we may discover unsettling truths about ourselves. Just as the abyss can seem infinite, so can our self-exploration, leading us to confront aspects of our personality, fears, and desires that we might prefer to ignore. The process of self-reflection can be enlightening, offering clarity and insight, but it can also be disorienting, as we may come face to face with parts of ourselves that we find difficult to accept. Furthermore, this concept highlights the duality of self-exploration. The deeper we delve into our psyche, the more we risk encountering unsettling realities. In essence, the abyss symbolizes the darker aspects of our existence, the struggles and conflicts that lie beneath the surface of our consciousness. When we gaze into this metaphorical abyss, we may find that it reflects our own insecurities, doubts, and flaws back at us. This reflection can be a catalyst for growth, prompting us to confront these issues and seek understanding. Yet it can also evoke fear, as it challenges our self-perception and the narratives we tell ourselves. Additionally, the idea of the abyss gazing back at you suggests that self-reflection is a two-way street. It's not just about how we perceive ourselves, but also how that perception influences our actions and thoughts. If we approach self-reflection with courage and honesty, we might emerge with a greater understanding of our motivations and how they shape our interactions with the world around us. However, if we shy away from this introspection, we might find ourselves trapped in cycles of denial or self-deception, unable to confront the truths that lie within. In cultures and philosophies around the world, this theme of confronting the self is prevalent. Various spiritual and psychological traditions emphasize the importance of looking inward, as the journey into the self can lead to profound revelations about one's purpose and place in the world. The abyss, therefore, becomes a powerful symbol of not just fear, but also potential transformation, illustrating that through the struggle of self-reflection, we can uncover deeper truths about our identity. Moreover, the act of deconstruction, a philosophical concept primarily associated with Jacques Derrida, invites a complex exploration of language, meaning, and interpretation, but, as intriguing as it may be, it also presents some disturbing aspects. One of the most unsettling elements of deconstruction is its challenge to the idea of fixed meaning. It suggests that language is inherently unstable, which means that words, rather than conveying clear and absolute truths, are subject to endless interpretation, leading to a sense of uncertainty about what can truly be understood. This idea can be disconcerting, particularly in fields like law, literature, and ethics, where clear definitions and stable meanings are often seen as foundational. If your employer says, "I'm looking for a thinker," moreover, deconstruction often leads to a form of skepticism that can undermine traditional values and beliefs. By revealing the assumptions and contradictions underlying texts and concepts, it raises questions about the reliability of cultural narratives, which can be unsettling for individuals and societies that rely on these narratives for identity and coherence. This skepticism can sometimes be perceived as nihilistic, as it seems to suggest that nothing can be known for certain, and that all interpretations are equally valid, which can lead to a kind of intellectual paralysis. Additionally, deconstruction involves a method of reading that seeks to disrupt established hierarchies and binaries, such as presence/absence, good/evil, and male/female. While this can be liberating in challenging oppressive structures, it can also create a sense of chaos, as the dismantling of these binaries can leave individuals feeling unmoored. In a world that often seeks clarity, the deconstructive approach can induce anxiety as it complicates our understanding of identity and ethics, leading to a feeling that we are adrift in a sea of relativism. Another disturbing aspect is the potential for misapplication of deconstruction in political and social contexts. While the philosophy encourages critical thinking and questioning of power dynamics, it can also be wielded in ways that justify harmful ideologies or actions. When taken to extremes, deconstruction can lead to a disregard for objective reality, making it easier for misinformation to spread and for harmful narratives to take hold, as individuals may become skeptical of all truths, even those that are well-founded and substantiated. Furthermore, deconstruction's focus on the instability of meaning can create barriers to effective communication. If we accept that meanings are always shifting, it raises the question of how we can engage in meaningful dialogue. In a society already grappling with division and misunderstanding, the implications of deconstructive philosophy